My name's Paul Golding and I was diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia when I was 32. Because of the type of leukemia I had, because it's relatively aggressive, and because they'd had trouble putting me into remission in the first place, there was a high likelihood that my cancer would come back. So it was at that point that we seriously started to talk about bone marrow transplant. I had never heard of Anthony Nolan before I was ill, and now, obviously, I'm still here. I've had a bone marrow transplant. The chances are I wouldn't be here without Anthony Nolan, so I'm remarkably grateful. They test your blood and they measure the blood cells and say whether they're your donor's blood cells or your blood cells. And that test is called a chimerism test. Fortunately for me, I was 100% of my donor cells immediately after the transplant, and I remain 2.5 years later 100% my donor cells. Every card that would arrive, I'd pin up on the board, and as the weeks went by, the cards got more and more and more. And I was sitting up at 2 o'clock in the morning, feeling sick, not able to sleep, but there was just a wall of cards from friends, which I refer to as my wall of love. But it makes a difference when you're in a really difficult place to have whatever, and I believe everyone has their own mechanism, and I realised that would be it for me, and so I asked my friends and they really delivered for me. So if anyone's going through it in the future, it's working out what will work for you. I found myself getting into a routine and trying to control what I could control, and I found myself in the evenings watching Grand Designs. And I found it fascinating watching what people were doing outside 2 properties trying to do something fantastic. I'd never watched it before, and it became an evening ritual that I would sit and watch Grand Designs. Strangely so, to the extent that as soon as I knew that I was in a recovery phase where I could start to do that, I started looking around for houses, and now I'm renovating my own house. I think Kevin MacLeod would be really pleased with that. Pretty early on, they did say to me, the treatment you're going to have has lots of ramifications, so it will make you extremely ill, and the chances are, with a lot of chemos, they can make you infertile. So they did say, have you got children? Do you want to have children in the future? Before we start you on your chemo tomorrow, we'll send you to the sperm bank. And even after a really terrible diagnosis, there was something really funny about being put in the back of an ambulance with the blue lights going on to travel across London to go to a sperm bank, do my business. And I got a text from my mother saying, you know, how are you feeling today? You know, it's really difficult. I wish I was with you. And I had to text back and said, I'm really glad you're not with me because I'm in a sperm bank.